enthusiastic, you're going to have to prove it to me. We're going to do the Stockyards shout. Just repeat it after me as loud as you can. Here we go. Howdy, everybody!
Howdy, everybody!
Much better. Welcome to Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome to Fort Worth Stockyards National Historic District. On a soft and windy day, it's going to get better, you know, as the day goes on. It'll be nice. As we say here in Texas, chilly today, hot tamale. All right. We got some safety tips for everybody. We ask that if you're down here at street level, we want everybody standing up. We did a scientific study out here a long time ago, and we found out that you move out of the way much faster standing up than you do sitting down. So, and that goes for everybody, including photographers, and that's all of you with a cell phone. So please do not lean over the road. Don't sit and squat and, you know, get that Instagram-worthy composition you're trying to get. You don't need to do that. Our cattle are so pretty. You just, you know, all you gotta do is just take a picture and it's gonna come out great. And we encourage you to post on social, whatever that happens to be. Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, wherever you like to pitch pictures. We love to see them. If you have a dog, make sure they're under your control. We don't want dogs running out to the street during the cattle drive. We do not want to be on the 6 o'clock games. All right? So keep your dog leashed up. If they're kind of yappy, it might help if you can prevent that as well. Historic walking tours going out today at 12:30 p.m. and 2 p.m. The last one is at 2 p.m. Head to the maze located across the street from Stockyards Station to get your tickets. We have an app available for everyone here. It's a free app, FortWorthStockyards.com. It tells you what's going on today, tomorrow, next week, next month. Gives you a complete listing of all the vendors here, shopping and dining, all the stuff available to you. And then you can offload it when you're done with it. I see up on the lawn we got Pendleton Whiskey is open. They have great stuff. They have cocktails and more. They got, you know, drinks for the kids as well. We also have Ranch 2.0. We're open as well. Go get a ranch water. And we have the Buckaroo Burger Grill is open. And by the way, I have sampled all the products up there. They're all good, and I think you'll like it. They have cotton candy, popcorn at the Buckaroo Grill, all that kind of good stuff. Somewhere up there they got that anyway.
Looks like he's going to start barking.
Don't miss the free herd experience today from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. behind the Livestock Exchange Building. Peek behind the scenes with Longhorns and Drovers with the Fort Worth herd, and you're going to see our Drovers coming down the street today. They're going to be putting on their little presentation. It's very informative if you want to learn the complete history, pretty much the complete history of the American cowboy. Go see the herd experience at 1:30 p.m.
Howdy.
Now you know you got some men walking around here with big shooting irons on their head. I don't know. I think that's Sam Elliott right there. I'm like, well, it's not Sam Elliott. That is Kevin. You know, and Kevin and the gunfighters here were in 1883. If you're familiar with that. And Kevin was one of Sam Elliott's stand-ins. Do you not see the resemblance? It's right there, is it not? Yeah. So all these guys are going to put on a comedy show, a gunfight show for you down here at the Stockyards Station shortly after the cattle drive. If you don't know where that is, that's down the east end of the street, right across from the maze. Go inside, and they're going to entertain you. All right, let's talk about this crazy little thing we do called the cattle drive. We are the home of the world's only twice daily cattle drive. We do this every single day, twice a day, 362 days off. We take a few days off for Christmas, Easter, and that kind of thing. But we do it pretty much every day, twice a day. And the reason why we do this is because you are standing right smack dab in the middle of a very historic location. This is the halfway point on the Chisholm Trail. The Chisholm Trail was the largest migration of domesticated livestock in the history of the world. John Wayne made a movie about it called Red River. And Texas, give you the background on it, Texas seceded from the Union in 1861 to join the Confederate cause. And Texas was supplied two things: soldiers, which they did, and cattle, which they could not. because they had to cross the Mississippi River to get into where most of the fighting was taking place. But the Mississippi River prevented that movement, so all the cattle that were supposed to go with the soldiers stayed behind in Texas. South loses the war, Texas veterans return home, and there are more cattle in Texas than there are human beings.
What about them? Oh, I see.
They have on collars. I wonder if there's an owner nearby. They belong to somebody. Okay. Anyway, continue on. They're greeted by more cattle than there are human beings. And there's a beef shortage in the United States that was created by the American Civil War. In other words, you have a classic case of supply and demand. There's a demand for beef, and Texas has it. And up north, about 450 miles from where you're standing right here, up in Abilene, Kansas, a guy by the name of Joseph McCoy sent the word down to San Antonio. And he said, bring your cattle up. We're going to buy them from you. We're going to pay you $20 to $40 a head. Some cases, $60 a head. Now, if you take $1 in 1866 and adjust that for inflation, $1 would be worth about $19 or $20 of today's money. So there is a lot of money to be made. So they hired the labor to round up these cattle that nobody owned, called Spanish cattle, Texas cattle, Mexican cattle. They put a mark on them, called a brand, and they walked them from south of San Antonio, Texas, over 800 miles up to Abilene, Ellsworth, and Dodge City. Now let's talk about the cattle you're going to see. These are the ones that went up the Chisholm Trail. They're called Longhorn today. Back then they were called Texas cattle, right? They weigh on average about 1,500 pounds. We have 3 that weigh over 2,000 pounds.
Is that
They
dope
have an
around
average
last
spread on the
time?
horns 6 feet,
Is that
5 to
puppy
6
been around
feet. That's
last
measured from tip to tip. You're going to see 2 brothers,
starts
they're
barking,
half brothers.
you'll move
They
it.
have a spread over 10. One is 10.7, I think the other one's 10.4. The world's record, in case you're curious, is over 11, and he's somewhere up in Oklahoma. They would round up anywhere from 1,500 to 5,000 head of these guys and walk them up. That was the only way they could do it because there were no railroads in Texas yet. Let's talk about the American cowboy while we have time. 15 years old was the median age. The range in age could be as young as 9, and they usually went up to as old as 25. There is one on record being 9 years old. He was black. A third of your drovers were African American or Mexican. The Mexican drovers were called vaquero. Vaquero is the Spanish word for cowboy. They could also be as old as 37 years old, but that's kind of putting it out there. Pretty old.
That's enough. Sit down, calm down.
The average age was what we would today call military age, about 18 to 24, 25, 17. And it paid $1 a day, which remember what I told you $1's worth. That's about $19 or $20 today's money. It took them 90 days from start to finish to round up those cattle and walk them up north. So you're talking about a $90 paycheck. Okay, we got a little bit of delay because we got some dogs roaming in the street that are unleashed. As soon as we can get these kids out of the way, we're going to bring the cattle down. So we can just go ahead and fill in the time while we get that taken care of. When they round these cattle up, moving up north, they would have about 75 to 150 head of wild Mustangs. That was called a remuda. The person in charge of the remuda was called a wrangler. They would also have a chuck wagon accompanying them. Their meals were typically beans for breakfast, beans for lunch, and beans for dinner. They would also have some wild game, perhaps a deer or something like that. And the chef was called Cookie. He was also the doctor, the preacher, the barber. So he was kind of a father figure to all the drovers, because the drovers were pretty young, a lot of them were kids. You would take about, let's say, deliver the cattle 90 days later. One of the first things you would do is get a hot bath. And a bath back then would cost you a nickel. If you were not too particular about the temperature of your water and the cleanliness of it, it cost you a penny. And then you go buy a new set of clothes, because the clothes you left home with from mom and dad were the same clothes that you wore throughout the entire journey. And then you had to buy your horse, because your typical cowboy, or drover, as we call them here, did not own his own horse. So they would have to take part of their paycheck to go to their booty to buy a horse so they could get back home. It was a very dangerous job. One of the main causes of death for a drover or cowboy was something called a stampede. And that's when the cattle would panic and run. And the drovers would have to ride out as fast as they could and get ahead of the stampede and get the herd to turn back on itself. When the cowboys were trying to stop the stampede, they would sing out loud or whistle as loudly as they could. If one of them stopped whistling or singing, that meant trouble. That meant that probably a cowboy fell off his horse and might have been trampled by the herd. Imagine yourself being out in the middle of nowhere with a broken arm or broken leg. No doctor nearby, nobody to care for your wound except for maybe the chef, the cook, called cooking. Now when they come down the street, the person in the very front is called the trail boss. That's the person in charge. The person in the very back is called the drag. That's the worst place to be on a cattle drive. The ones on either side are called the point, the swing, and the flank. And their job is to keep the herd intact and to keep them moving without running off into a stampede. The length of the herd could be over a mile long and could be as wide as 2 or 3 football fields. So you're talking about a crew of 10 to 15 drovers or cowboys. Oh, I didn't want to add a few things. Ladies, I might get a little Taylor Swift on you here. They had female drovers. I don't know if y'all knew about that. Lizzie Johnson, probably the most famous of all of them, died the wealthiest woman in Texas in the early 1920s. She was a millionaire. She's buried at the State Cemetery down in Austin, Texas. She owned her own cattle company separate from her husband's. She did not trust her husband's business acumen. So she's a very famous cowgirl. There were others, Nellie Brown, Margaret Borland, and then you also had Cherokee, who would come down from the Indian Territory and would sign up to take the herd out. Boys and girls, we hope you enjoyed this cattle drive. I about stretch this thing out as long as I can. Are you guys way down there? He's waving at me. All right, get ready for the cattle drive. Enjoy your day here at the cattle drive. We're going to see you again at 4 p.m. hopefully. Have a great day.
Howdy, cowboys and cowgirls, and welcome to the Fort Worth Herd Cattle Drive. I'm Barry Corbin. Once upon a time, Stockyards, right where you're standing, was filled with cattlemen and cowhands. Cattle were driven by men and women on horseback called drovers, with wide brimmed hats and dirt on their boots. 150 years ago, this was their last stop before the long walk over 500 miles of rugged land to Kansas. Fort Worth was the drovers' last chance to buy supplies, enjoy a good meal, and kick up their heels before months of beans and hardtack and sleeping under the stars. Today you'll catch a glimpse of that past, but the herd is more than a spectacle. It's a reminder of Fort Worth's Western heritage, of the cowboy grit and rugged independence so ingrained in the Texas spirit. That spirit is still here, and you are a part of it. So be sure and tip the hat and say howdy as the Texas Longhorns pass by with our drovers. In the stockyards, every day is a new adventure, and it starts right here with the Fort Worth herd.
Come see the gunfire.
Those things must be horny. Man, I'd hate to get impaled on one of their horns.
You see how long those horns are, though?
Yeah.
It's a big old horn.
Well, they must be horny.
Right? But yeah, I thought you should be able to get to see the drive. That's
cool.
why I wanted to get here early.
That's cool. we still got here on time.
Yep. And see if she don't cause an issue with them.
Yep.
Oh yeah, she's fine with them.
Yeah, we'll have to go.
Thank you for visiting the Fort Worth Stockyards.
Just a closing remark.
Where's
The cowboy era was very short-lived and did not last that long, about 25 to 30 years. The main thing
We'll
that
have to
brought
go
it to
this
an end
way.
is when the railroads came down into Texas. And it was no longer necessary to walk the cattle up north. They just put them on a train and shipped them up that way.
I saw y'all's ball game last night.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good, man. Good.
They were there too.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you right to it.
She's like, oh yes.
Y'all enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's gonna be over here, I think.
Are you okay, honey?
Ow. Yeah.
Baby, are you alright?
Yeah, my foot just tried to give out on me.
Again, we got the penalty whiskey, we got buckaroo burger, we got ranch tuna cocktails, we got all these things, the shotgun dining, the carriages are out, you can take the stagecoach ride, the carriage ride, the steers are out, sit on the steer, have your picture taken.
I would love to see him again, but I don't know. I'll have to look at finances first.
Kid Rock sucks. I don't like Kid Rock.
Rodeo is at 1:30 to 2:30. They can help me download the app. Thank you very much. Appreciate you coming out. Have a great rest of the afternoon.
Oh wow, look at that.
Ah,
Hold on. I got
baby.